What is going on, YouTube? How's everyone doing on this lovely Saturday afternoon? This is Mike in the house, and today the movie I'm going to be discussing is a 1986 movie that I came across like literally years ago. And I used to have this movie on VHS, but I don't think this movie came out on DVD or anything, any other like physical media. The title of this movie that I'm going to be reviewing is the 1986 Anthony Michael Hall actioneer called Out of Bounds. Um, Now I saw this several years ago. Like I said, I had it on VHS, and I thought it was I thought it was a decent action movie. You know what I'm saying? Um, Now seeing it now more recently, I saw it a couple of days ago. As a matter of fact, I saw it Thursday night with a friend of mine, and there were some laughable moments in the movie. You know what I'm saying? So I saw the reviews from Cisco and Ebert, and they pretty much. I mean, it's not that they didn't trash the movie. It was just it. It has some issues with it. You know what I'm saying? Um, But before I get to my issues, I'm gonna talk about the cast real quick. The notable cast, Anthony Michael Hall. For those of you who you should know who he is, he was from movies like 16 Candles. He was in The Breakfast Club. He was in Vacation with Chevy Chase. He did a movie called Six Pack, which I believe that was his first film debut. Um, yeah, he was the Brat Pack of the '80s and stuff like that. And then um, he plays Dale Cage in this movie, and his performance is just he just talks like this, like he gives this whispery like performance and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is how he talks throughout the whole movie. Kind of like this whisper, like he's whispering, and I don't know if he was trying to channel Keanu Reeves or Clint Eastwood. He was trying to channel that. I'm not 100% sure. You know what I'm saying? Um, from what I hear, he is difficult to work on a set. From what I've heard about him and the director, they didn't agree on certain things, you know what I mean? And yeah, it made it difficult to film this movie. Um, and then you have Jenny Wright, who plays Diz in the movie. She was good in this one. She was kind of lively, but I kind of wish she was given more to do. Jenny Wright, she was in movies like Near Dark, um, The World According to Garp. What else? She was in Young Guns too, so she's been in like a fairly decent amount of movies. And then you have Glenn Turman, which I think is one of the most underrated actors of all time. For those of you who are my Different World fans, you should know him. He was Colonel Taylor in A Different World. He was also in Coolie High. And he's been in like a tremendous amount of films. He was in Super 8. He was in he's been in a lot of stuff lately. You know what I'm saying? So, before I get to the movie, I'm gonna see who's in on the chat here. So, Q Smooth is in the house. So, what's good, bro? I'm doing okay. I'm hanging in there, bro. Like, how about you? How you doing? So, anyways, this movie. Where do I start? So, the movie takes place in Iowa, and in the beginning, you have Anthony Michael Hall's character. he's out there, working on the farm, and then he hears his mom and dad, they're arguing and stuff like that, and then there's some sort of like initiation that the mom and dad are getting separated. They're separating from each other, and Anthony Michael Hall, he moves to California, to stay with his brother for a little bit. And there's some, you know, there's some speculation with his parents that they're getting a divorce or they're separating, and his mother is leaving the dad, stuff like that. So once he gets to the airport, meets his brother grabs the wrong bag. The bag looks identical to Anthony Michael Hall's duffel bag and stuff. So he goes to his brother's house, and they have this talk, whatever, blah blah blah. So the next morning he finds his brother and his brother's girlfriend or fiance, whatever the hell they call it, they find him dead. And next thing you know, you have this random guy come in and fixing their septic tank, and they get into it, and then Anthony Michael Hall shoots him, and he discovers that um the duffel bag that Anthony Michael Hall has, discovered that wasn't his. You know what I'm saying? So there's just this this wild like goose chase. I mean, you have like some action in the beginning. You know what I'm saying? But I forgot to mention, but before he landed at the airport, he meets Jenny Wright's character, Diz, and she's like this weird kind of like over the top. She could have been like this over the top character that we all love, but we didn't get a chance to see that. You know what I'm saying? So we don't really know about Diz and her whole history and stuff like that until probably I want to say towards the end. You know what I'm saying? And you know what? Here's my issue with this movie. Yo, Reg is in the house. Big shout out to Reg. Go subscribe to his channel, Reg Reviews. One of the hardest people working on YouTube right now. One of the problems is that my issue with this movie, my issue with the beginning is that if you like, here's the thing. If you know, my issue was the whole like struggle scene between um Anthony Michael Hall's character Dale Cage and Septic Tank Guy. He shoots him. He discovers this gun and he shoots him. And it's like, did we need that particular scene? You know what I'm saying? Did we need that at all? That was just, I felt like it was kind of like thrown in there a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So, um, yeah. Anyways, so okay, so Anthony Michael Hall, he's running around. He's being chased by, I forget the actor's name. I forget his character's name too. So you have like this villain, this bad guy who wants his drugs and all that good stuff, and he's kind of sort of like, well, he's looking for this person who has the duffel bag full of drugs. So he finds out that it was Anthony Michael Hall's character, Del Cage. Um, So it's like this wild goose chase, but in between then, you have um Del Cage, he goes to Diz's job and kind of like ask her for help. Like, can you help me? I have this bag and I don't know I don't know what to do. The cops think I did this, you know, murder and stuff like that. Like they think like I'm this notorious drug dealer, stuff like that. So, um, he from a payphone, he calls the payphone, and then Glenn Turman's character, which he plays a detective, and he tells them to, well, if you're innocent, you will come in and make a statement. You know what I'm saying? Probably one of the smartest things in the movie, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? So, um, then it's like now you have this wild, now they go on this wild goose chase, and my Anthony Michael Hall's character Dell, he transforms from the typical. He transforms from a blonde to this dark haired, kind of like punkish, like bad boy. But here's the kicker, though. The kicker is that does not pay off at all. You know what I'm saying? And we never got like. Here's the thing. It would have worked if Anthony Michael Hall was acting more like a badass versus channeling Clint Eastwood or Keanu Reeves now, especially in John Wick. And like his performance in this movie is just so soft, it's just so, oh, I have to, I have to get a gun. I have to turn this money in. I have this bag full of drugs. I you know and it was just so whispery, you know what I'm saying? And it was like a little mouse and he's just whispering, you know what I'm saying? Um this particular movie, I'm not gonna shit on this movie too much. It has some good stuff in it. The soundtrack of it, I thought the soundtrack was the best thing in the movie. You know what I'm saying? And if you expect fight scenes in this movie, well, you're gonna be a little bit disappointed because all Anthony Michael Hall does is kick. In one scene, he kicks somebody in a boss while they're at a nightclub, and then he's being chased, and then he kicks somebody off a truck. I think that's all the. I think that's all the kicking he does. So yeah, it's and then him and the bad guy, they have this semi fight scene in the middle, while he's climbing on top of a truck. And then now you have the police chasing this guy. Now they know, at this point, they know who this guy is. So now Del Cage and Glenn Turman's character, they now went together to get this guy. You know what I'm saying? And does the movie pay off at the end? Well, I don't want to give the ending away, but I felt like if you're gonna do it, this was okay. The Brat Pack, and I get it. They wanted to do different things. You know what I'm saying? Like movies like 16 Candles, The Breakfast Club, Say Almost Fire. That defined the Brat Pack. You know what I'm saying? That defined Black Pack movies. I get they wanted to do something different. I get Anthony Michael Hall wanted to do something different. And his method acting was not up to par. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he was very likable in movies like 16 Candles and The Breakfast Club. You know, he was in even with Science. With Science, that was another one he was great in. You know what I'm saying? His performance in those three were really good, but in this one, it's like all we get is this. Oh my God, I have to take this bad to the police, or I can't take this bad to the police. I've been framed. I have these drugs, and I did. My bag was somebody switched bags. So I have these drugs, and those are not my drugs. I don't even think Jenny Wright could elevate his performance either. I mean, he did yell in probably one scene. That was it. So the movie itself, you had a good location, which was in California. The location was good. You know, the scenery was really good. I love the scenery. The action could have been better. You had a lot of gunplay. You know, you had a lot of gun violence, which the gun violence was it was good. And like I said, if you expect a fight scene, if you're a big fan of fight scenes, good luck because you see all you're gonna see is a struggle and maybe a couple kicks. That's it. Which I don't as a person as a movie lover who loves fight scenes in every movie, doesn't matter what genre it is. If I don't get a fight scene, I don't get a fight scene. But at the same time, you don't get it here. And on the poster, if you look at my thumbnail, you see Anthony Michael Hall. You think he's transformed into this badass. Excuse me. But really, that's what we were robbed of. That was the biggest problem. He didn't transform fully. You know what I'm saying? You know how in The Fly, Jeff Goldblum, he got infected. So he transformed slowly into the Fly, but he transformed surely into the Fly. And in this case, Anthony Michael Hall, he just kept he, this by the time the movie ends, we don't get that full transformation. That was the biggest problem in the movie. The biggest problem in the movie, too, was his whispering performance. Because it's like, okay, you just got off Weird Science, which was another classic, in The Breakfast Club, which that's an ultimate classic. But now you went from that to this. Now, here's the question. Did this movie hurt his career? Because he did another movie back in '88 called Johnny Be Good, and I believe he was a college student or a high school student, whatever the case may be. But the problem is, like, how long are you gonna be a high school student for? You know what I'm saying? And in Out of Bounds, he was just working on a farm. He didn't go to school. I don't think he was just a young adult. So, did this movie kind of hurt his career? It did not. It didn't hurt his career, but it kind of, sort of, in a way. But then you have movies like Johnny Be Good, which that was sort of a forgotten movie. That was with Robert Downey Jr. And then he did another movie called Upworld, which that got nothing but trash. But he rebounded for a minute in Edward Scissorhands. And then he was in another movie with Will Smith called 6 Degrees of Separation, which I thought he was great in that. You know what I'm saying? So I would say that the mid 80s for the Brat Pack for that time was a hit and miss. And mind you, this came out in '86. Judd Nelson did a movie that was, I'm not gonna say it's similar, but he did an action there called Blue City, and that got terrible reviews. But I thought it was kind of sort of better than this. I thought it was more fun. You know what I mean? And who else? Emilio Estevez did one of the worst movies he's ever done called Wisdom, which that came out in, I believe, was '86, '87. And he did another movie called Maximum Overdrive. And I'm naming off Brat Pack movies, the movies that the Brat Packers were in back in '86, '87. Rob Lowe, he did two movies, which one of them was Youngblood, not the one with Lawrence Hill and Jacobs, not the one in the '70s, but there was a hockey movie called Youngblood. That was, it was a drama, but it kind of has a little bit of action elements in it. You know what I'm saying? That was good. That was actually good. And he did a movie called About Last Night, which that was well received by critics. Ali Sheedy, she was in Short Circuit. That was pretty decent received by critics too, and that was a sci-fi. Molly Ringwald, she was in Pretty in Pink, which that was another John Hughes classic. So my point to you is basically the Black Packers, basically they wanted to do different things, which I get. I get it. And then a couple of them stuck to, teenage movies. Well, another Black Packer I do want to mention is Anthony Michael Hall. No, not Anthony Michael Hall. I'm sorry. Nope, nope. Andrew McCarthy. Andrew McCarthy. He was in Pretty in Pink. He did a kind of a thriller actioneer called Kansas back in '88. Um, with Matt Dillon. So he did, he did some stuff. He did some good stuff too, Andrew McCarthy. I think another one who's underrated. So this movie, I give it this movie could have been a lot better if I could see another actor I could kind of see playing Anthony Michael Hall's role. Maybe I want to say James Spader. I could also see. And James Spader, he did he did action. A couple action movies. He was in a movie before this movie. He was in a movie called Tough Turf, which that was that's one of my favorites from the '80s. And he did a movie called The New Kids. And James Spader, the one thing I love about James Spader is that he has that edginess. You know what I'm saying? He has that. He plays a good guy, but then he plays a bad guy at the same time. Think of the late great um, Ray Liotta, who's plays these bad guys, but he plays good guys. But you can tell that something's gonna make him tick. You know what I'm saying? James Spader, similar. He when he plays a good guy, you can tell something's gonna make him tick. But he's gonna be he could play a good guy, but he could be an asshole at the same. You know, good. He plays a good guy role, but he could be an ass. He's a total asshole, or he's very eccentric, and he is eccentric in real life. One of the nicest actors in real life. You know what I'm saying? So, um, yeah, I can see him playing this movie. I can see it. But Anthony Michael Hall, we didn't see that full transformation. We did not get that. That was the problem. Jenny Wright, she was not, she didn't elevate her scenes much either. She was good. She was much better in Near Dark. You know what I mean? She was good in this. I liked her in this. I liked her character, but I felt like she wasn't given that much to do, but just be Anthony Michael Hall's sidekick. And she didn't do much. It would have been better too if you give Glenn Turman the lead role, and they could have turned it into like a cop, grab the wrong bag. He comes from wherever he comes from. He could be coming from Iowa too. He grabs the wrong bag, and I thought Glenn Turman would have made this more interesting. I thought. Um, I think Glenn Turman needs more stronger, more leading roles. I don't think he got enough of them. I mean, he did fair in the '70s, especially with JD's Revenge, but he never gotten after that. He's just been a supporting character. You know what I'm saying? So, all in all, though, I think with the with a great soundtrack, it does have some pretty good scenes, but um the the director of this movie, by the way, is Richard Toggle, which he did something else, but I don't remember what the movie is. um I think the direction could have been better. The acting from Anthony Michael Hall could have been a hell of a lot better. It just kind of made the movie. If it wasn't for the action, it has some decent amount of action too. If it wasn't for that, it'd just have been a boring movie. He would just made it too boring. He wasn't very interesting in this movie. Um, the villain, the main villain, he was quite interesting, and I forget his name, but he's been in some soap operas. He's currently on General Hospital, and he's won a daytime Emmy, so he's a daytime Emmy winner. He came a long way from this to General Hospital. That's a big achievement. Um, you know, pretty much almost everybody did that thing. Um, if I had to rate this movie out of 5 stars, I would give it 3 out of 5. It wasn't the worst movie, but it wasn't the best movie of the '80s. But can I say I had fun with it? Yes, I could say I easily had fun with this movie. Anthony Michael Hall, they could have casted somebody else, but at the same time, it was a nice attempt to see him, be a be a badass. But it just didn't pay off. It just didn't pay off. And if if they didn't, if I don't know, me personally, if I'm a director, and if I'm telling you that you need to play a bad guy, but you turn around and say, "Oh, well, I want to play it this way," I would have recasted somebody else. I would have, because if I want to make a good movie, I want to make a decent. I want to make it to where this movie has a likable character. And Anthony Michael Hall could have been a Anthony Michael Hall's character, Dale Case, could have been a lovable character if he just stopped whispering and just started elevating his roles. That's how he talks in the movie. You know what I'm saying? Like he's whispering. All in all, though, I give it 3 out of 5 stars because I did have fun with it. I love the soundtrack. It is from the 80s. It's from 1986. That's the year I was born. Um, so yeah, it's not gonna say it's a very good movie, but it was enough to where it kept me interested. Um, Now if this movie was to ever come out on Blu-ray, if it was to ever come out on Blu-ray, I would get it. I would get it. I don't know who's gonna, put it out. I'm thinking because we got so many boutique labels. We got Criterion, we got Vinegar Syndrome, we have Kino Lorber. I can see Kino Lorber putting this out. I can see it, but then at the same time, I can see a partner label from Vinegar Syndrome because Vinegar Syndrome has plenty of partner labels. I can see them. I can also see maybe because it is a Columbia movie, so it's a Columbia type movie. So I don't think Columbia would um come out with this one, but it's definitely not going to be in the Columbia collection. Definitely would not. But yeah, if I have to go with either Kino or even MVD Rewind, even them. I could see them too because they've been putting out some classic movies. You know what I'm saying? They put out Swamp Thing, not Return of the Swamp Thing, Swamp Thing, and a few other movies. But hopefully, if this does come out on, Blu-ray, and if it does, I would definitely be getting it. I would add it to my collection. But other than that, though, wasn't the best movie, but it was good enough to, it kept me interested. It kept me up. So that is all for my reviews. And stay tuned be on the lookout for a Best Buy Out and About review. That's going to be coming up very soon here. So with that being said, this is Mike from Mike's Movie Corner and Rants, and I will see you guys in the next video.